Good afternoon, Year 4, and welcome to your DT lesson this week. It is Tuesday, the 2nd of February, and before I say any more about today's lesson, this lesson will be in two parts. We're going to be having a go at lesson 4, which is planning the making of our gelato, which you can all have a go at. And I will put a bit of a pause in between, and I will then record the second part of the lesson, or lesson 5, which will be making the gelato. Now, before you get too excited, it's going to be very different at home, and please, please, please ask your parents nicely if they are happy to help you make one. If not, don't worry, and we will hopefully try and revisit this when we get back into school, so everyone will still have a chance. But if you can make it at home, that would be great. This is the same for the key workers in school. I'm sure Mrs. Chamberlain will do the planning with you, but if you can go home and ask your parents nicely if they can make the gelato with you for the second part, it will be much easier than doing it in school. So today I'm going to start off with lesson 4, which is planning the making of your gelato. And today you're going to decide on the flavour that you want to make it. And normally we do this as a class, but of course today you're going to be able to choose what you would like at home. You're going to include an ingredients and equipment list and create a small and manageable set of instructions to follow. And then you're going to design an annotated sketch. So this is the first part that you still all can definitely have a go at today, even if for whatever reason you can't make it at home, and that is absolutely fine as well. Okay, so how do we plan to make something? What do we have to do first? How do we think about that? And just remind yourselves of what gelato actually is from a couple of weeks ago. While you're thinking about that, have a look at where you are on the learning pit today. Do you think that this part, the planning stage, is going to be challenging, or are you able to succeed, or you think you'll be able to succeed quite easily today, thinking about what will help you? Okay, so just an always, sometimes never. From our work last lesson, we should eat foods from all 5 food groups every day. Is this an always, is this a sometimes, or is this a never? And just have a think about that. Is there only one answer? Should we always try, but sometimes do it? Should we never eat foods that are high in oils and fats? Just have a think about that. Okay, so like I said just in the intro bit there, normally as a class, our first job would be to decide what flavour gelato we'd be making. So we would go back to our first lesson evidence, and we would look at what flavour had the highest scores overall. So you can see mine along the bottom there. We've got caramel, strawberry, vanilla, raspberry, and choc chip. I've taken the mint off there for when we would do it in class. And I would be asking you, how many people had caramel as their highest? How many people had strawberry, and so on? However, we don't quite need to do this stage today because you all would have voted differently. And in school, we'd have only made 1 or 2 flavours, probably one for Fairford class and one for Stowe. However, you are now at home, your taste buds have changed. So if, and this is the if part, if you were to choose to make one, what would you choose your flavour to be? So still go back and have a look at the ingredients that you tried from lesson 1 and the flavours, and have a think about what one that you would choose if you were to make it. Okay, once you've got our flavour, and it says here that next lesson, which will be in a moment, as I explained, we'll have a go at making our gelato. So we need to make sure we have everything ready. What ingredients do we need? So lesson 2, which was a couple of weeks ago again now, we actually sorted some of the ingredients that you need to make gelato into whether it was processed, reared, or grown. Can you remember some of the ingredients? Again, tricky question, and normally I'd be asking you and you'd be reminding each other in class. Hopefully you were remembering that there was some kind of milk on there, some kind of cream, some kind of flavouring, and then we'd think about what equipment we'd need. So whether we'd be going into the DT room, how would we be making it? Would we need bowls, spoons, weighing scales? Would we need the oven? Would we need an ice cream maker? Things like that. So it's tricky to do with you not being in front of me and me asking you, but you can have a think about this. And then we'd have a think about how we'd make it. What's our method? What steps will we have to do? And at the moment, we haven't made it before. It's what steps do you think we would have to do? If you can pause the video here and just have a think about those three things, the ingredients, equipment, and method, and we'll come back in a moment and have a look at what the list actually is. Okay, hopefully you've had a think about that at least. Here is our ingredients, equipment, and method list. Now, normally, if we were at school, I wouldn't be giving you these and we'd have worked them out together. But the ingredients, we are going to need 160 grams of granulated sugar, 500 grams of whole milk, 400 millilitres of double cream, 2 teaspoons of vanilla essence, and then flavouring. And that flavouring is whatever you are adding in, whether you're going to add in fresh strawberries, whether you're going to add in some chocolate chips, whether you're going to add in some caramel chunks, whatever it is, that's your flavouring. So I can't put that at the moment. Then on the equipment, now if we were in school, we would be using an ice cream maker. Do not worry if you don't have one of these at home, because we will just have to do something slightly different. But then you will need a freezer and a container to put it in. We'll also need a bowl and spoon, a measuring jug and scales, a hob and a saucepan, a thermometer, and a blender. And the method we would use in school, number one, we would heat the milk and sugar in a saucepan until the mixture is about 80 degrees centigrade. We would then chill it, so that means you can pop it in the fridge. Once it is cool, and you do have to wait a little bit of time between those, we would add the vanilla essence and the cream and the blended strawberries. And the blended strawberries here, that was my flavouring that I chose and that we did with last year's class. So I'm just going to add the word flavouring to yours, because you might not be choosing strawberries. So you'd add the flavouring of whatever that is. Last year we used a blender to mix that up. Again, you don't need to do that if you don't want to. So the blender might be something you use, or it might not be, that's fine. Then you would mix the ingredients well using a spoon, and that would be in a bowl still or in your saucepan. And then number 4, it says to churn it in the ice cream maker for 20 to 30 minutes. Now, again, it doesn't matter if you don't have an ice cream maker, but what the ice cream maker does is it freezes it as it is continually churning it. So it means that there are no big bits of ice that get left in there, but you can just put it in the freezer and keep taking it out and giving it a stir, and it crushes up those ice crystals that would form. And then it says to tip the gelato into the container with a lid and put it in the freezer. Now that would be when it was done. This will change slightly if you have a go at home. It might be a bit more of a trial and error at home, depending on the things you have. But this would be what we would do in school. So for the first part of this lesson, your task, you can create your own recipe. So you can copy out most of the ingredients that will be the same, and the equipment that will be the same, but this is up to you and your flavouring. So that final one in the ingredients column needs to be the flavour that you have chosen. It then says you're going to make sure you explain how to make the gelato in simple and manageable steps. So I made sure my instructions were quite simple, made sure they were in the right order and easier to follow. And hopefully you'll be able to have a go at using those or doing it slightly differently if you're at home. For instance, you might not have your ice cream maker. Then your go deeper is to create an annotated sketch of what you think your final product will look like. You can draw a bowl and draw some heaps of ice cream, but will you want chunks of chocolate chip or chunks of bits of strawberry left in it, or will you have wanted it blended? Things like that. Okay, this is the first part of the lesson, and whether or not you're making it at home or we do it when we come back in school in some fashion, you can still all have a go at planning this part. This is the bit that's okay and is fine for you to do. And I'm not going to ask you to pause it just yet, But once you've done it, you can then pause it after this page, because you can have a think about how you found the planning stage of this lesson. This is then the big pause bit, and this is going to be the split between those two lessons. If you can, and your parents are happy to, and please, please, please don't nag them too much, but if you are happy to, you can then have a go at some point later during this week. It doesn't have to be this afternoon, because your parents will probably have to go out and buy some of those ingredients from the supermarket on their 1 weekly shop, because we know we're not going out too much still at the moment. So you may have to be patient for this bit. And again, the key worker children in school, this is the part where you will have to ask your parents at home if they are happy to do this with you, and not in school, I'm afraid. Okay, please stop now, not just pause, stop this video here, and you can come back to it once you are ready to make the gelato, if you are able to do so. If not, again, don't worry, and hopefully we'll get to do it in school. Bye for now. Okay, welcome back to those few people whose parents have said that they can have a go at making gelato. So I've still done this on the same video, and it will be sometime after Tuesday the 22nd, but you are going to prepare and make your gelato today. So your steps to success for today will be abiding by the health and safety rules of the kitchen, making sure you're safe to start with. You're going to try and follow the recipe from your instructions, and you're going to hopefully enjoy making gelato. So again, normally I would ask you how we make sure we be prepared. Have you got all of your ingredients? Have you got a clean kitchen to work in? And have you got all the equipment you need? And again, just down here, I've just got our learning pit. Is it going to be challenging to make this today? It might be even more challenging if you don't have the ice cream maker that I have originally put on the equipment list and in my method, but are you going to be able to do it in a different way? Okay, so good, better or best, first of all then. Are you safe, first of all? So when is it important to wash your hands? Is the kitchen, work surfaces and food equipment clean? How should raw and cooked food be handled and stored? How would you know how long these foods last? How can you make sure that microbes do not multiply quickly? So that's the bacteria that grows on food if it's left out and things. Where should you keep raw meat in the fridge? We don't really need that one today, but it's still worth knowing about. Where should these foods be stored, and to enjoy your food? So what should you do before cooking? Pause the video here and just have a think about the food safety and what is a good question on the side, which is better and which is best. Okay, hopefully you've had a think about those. It is definitely really important to make sure you've washed your hands before starting today, and you've made sure that your kitchen, your work surfaces and all the equipment you're using is clean, and that you are ready and that all of your ingredients are in date. Okay, so today you'll be making your gelato, and as I've just said, it says before you do anything, wash your hands and make sure you have your recipe card with you. So your recipe card might be slightly different from this one, which I shared with you in that last lesson or earlier, but it will be slightly different depending on the flavors you've chosen and depending on what equipment you are using. So again, I'm just changing it here to flavorings because it depends what you've chosen. I therefore can't help too much more now because it's up to your parents. Thank you very much, parents, for helping out. I wish you lots of luck. My top tip, if you don't have an ice cream maker, you can still heat your milk and sugar and then let it chill, then add everything else and give it a big mix. But where it says number 4 to churn it in the ice cream maker, and then once it's fully finished, you'll put it into the freezer. All you will have to do is put it into the freezer, take it out after an hour and give it a stir and put it back in the freezer and leave it another hour and pull it back out and give it another stir. And you'll probably have to do that for a fair few hours, which that's completely on the children. Parents, I don't expect you to be doing that, but if the children want it so it doesn't go hard and crunchy and the ice crystals form in the wrong places, they will have to keep going to the freezer and taking it out and really properly mixing it so it doesn't all get frozen into one place. If that doesn't happen, and you know, it will still freeze once it's in the freezer, it will still taste like ice cream. So there's nothing that's going to go horribly wrong with this. But it is much better to get that creamier gelato texture if it is mixed more thoroughly. The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is, if you are brave enough to have a go at this, just realised that that's the wrong date because that's one we would have done in school. If you are brave enough to have a go at this, I'd love to see some photos of you having a go at it, but have fun with it. And please thank your parents for allowing you to have a go at home. It's not an easy time for them, and it's not an easy time for us. And like I said, I will be doing this hopefully with you back in school once we get back. We'll just have to rejig the timetable a little bit. Good luck today. I can't wait to see some of your photos, maybe if you taste the ice cream afterwards, or what your finished product looks like. Good luck and see you soon. Bye.